You're listening to PTO Insights, a series focused on spotlighting operational insights from entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals making an impact. In this episode, we're excited to speak with Cora Williams, solution strategist and founder of JLCE Company. Cora has an incredible story of turning her triumphs into concrete solutions for others. So, Cora, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I love it. I love it. In our 15-minute conversation today, you'll hear Cora's insights into creating structure, processes, and flow for herself and her clients. We'll discuss some of JLCE's secrets to operational success and key learnings that other business leaders can apply. Cora will also share her perspective on being an entrepreneur in the age of AI, hybrid work and client facilitation, and all those things. So let's dive into the cool operations of JLCE and how she got there. So, Cora, we live in a world full of chaos, to be frank. How did you come to start JLCE, and how did you know it was going to be like an operations strategy solution? Like, how did we get here?
Fun story, I didn't know any of that. Not a lick of it. Unfortunately, due to a work-related accident, I was unable to join the corporate workforce, but I refused to be one that just stays at home. So I did a little ins and, little odd jobs here and there, but I didn't really feel like I was reaching my full potential. I had a family friend who was like, hey, I need help. And I was like, okay, I don't have nothing to do. Sure, got you. And so that's where it kind of all started. I've spent many of years in administration. I had family members as well as my parents who owned and operated businesses. So of course, all the stuff they didn't want to do, who do you think they delegated it down to? Free labor. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. So that's where I kind of learned how, the admin parts, having processes, but I didn't even think of it like that. I was just like, oh, you need me to type something? Oh, you need me to do something? Let me earn a little cash. So when my friend asked me to help her in her business, it was interesting because it was a business I didn't know nothing about it. So of course, if you're in operations, what you don't know, what do? You research. So I R&D the mess out of her industry so we can get this nice and streamlined. And then from there, I actually went back to college. I was like, well, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you kind of need to know what's the hard not life. I knew social media was not telling me the truth. Yeah.
Say that again.
School definitely told me the truth. Econ was not my favorite, but it made sense. So I graduated with my associates in entrepreneurship, but I think the real lessons was the opportunities of networking with different business owners. And what I really learned was there's no cookie cutter, and no two businesses are alike, regardless of what they're offering their services. What is different is always is the CEO. And so it started off like, oh, I'm just going to be a virtual assistant. I'm going to do admin, make a few little dollars here and there. And I was like, this is not for me. I don't want to be in your emails because I'm nosy. And then when you don't read the email and then they yelling at me and it's like, I can't yell back. I was like, yeah, no. So I had an amazing mentor who gave me the opportunity to actually come work for her agency and work in operations. And she was like, you see things a little bit differently. And I was like, don't you see it the same? Like, okay, if this is broken, like, let's find a solution. Don't bring me a problem and we don't have no possibility of solutions. Like, just because, we could still find something on a Dollar Tree budget. So she was always laughing at me because she was like, how did you find this? I was like, how did you not find it? Like so they chuckled because I was like, what do you need? What do you want? And what could you live without? And so they would look at me and they're like, what? And I was like, what do you need? What do you want? And what could you live without? And so I would never tell them. We would use whatever current tools we were using and I would be researching. And so when they would complain about this tool, it would be a side note like, okay, so they don't like this. They don't like that. We don't like this. And so that's really, it was kind of more of that. But what I really realized is yes, we all go into business for money. Foundation started, it's said, it's done. However, that's
Comma.
not the sole purpose of why we go to business. Some of us go to
Mm-hmm.
business because we want free time. We still want to make money, but we want to actually have a life before 5 o'clock. Some of us go to business because we want to get away from our kids.
That's true. Say it again.
And we just want to feel connected to the adults, have a little
Yeah.
adult time, but then still dip out. And then some of us really want to go into business because they're creative. And what I learned was
Mm.
creativity is different among different ones. Some people creativity is art, some people
Mm.
creativity is product. Mine happens to be let's find a solution out of the box. And so
Nice.
that really was how I got started. I had a lot of customer service over the years. So when I look at operations, I don't look at it from your business. I look at it from the person. So if you're the
Mm.
CEO, I am not looking like, okay, so what problems can we solve in your business? That's great. Yes, we're going to address those and solve those, but I'm also going to look what is this affecting in your personal life, because I need you to make a sound decision. And if you are 100% business, but your family is nagging you because you don't spend time with them, we're going to have to talk about that. Because you know who they
Yeah.
going to nag next? Me.
You. Yeah.
I ain't
Yeah.
taking that for you. Mm-mm. I'm not. I'm going to leave you
So
high and dry.
So Cora, I love one how we got here, right? You can see in like through your origin story how you got to that niche, like talking to your friends and family, seeing other entrepreneurs and business owners, and seeing that as a route, right? You said you couldn't do the corporate thing, like personal reasons, and so you ended up in this space. But I love how you went back to school, you got your associates in entrepreneurship, and you were able to quickly connect that networking, right? Which is really one of those people things that gets really sticky and hard to do. But even in your origin story, right, you were always networking with your community, with those business owners, and then you find out more that you need to network. And then I love how you said no two companies are alike. Everyone's unique. I'm gonna further this question by saying operations and solutions management is a huge space, right? Like operations is the heartbeat of any company. So how did you find like that niche, and then what do you do with your clients, right? This is a large space. You found some niche, and then like, how do you actually work them through to a solution?
So most most people have taken pieces of operations. So you'll see
Mm.
some of them, they'll strictly focus on the funnels, or they'll strictly focus on certain parts. And that's great. However, then you hear the business owners complain because if you're a system person, they're like, you're always looking at me to make, you always want me to spend more money to make this simpler. But then and it's like, okay, well, I ain't going to do that because we believe in budgets and we
Mm.
find your budget. I don't care
Yeah.
what the product is. There's always a cheaper or more affordable one that works just as well. However, what people don't really realize is why you can't stay in operations 9 out of time 10 is because you forget that you still have to learn it. It is not
Oh.
like marketing where you could just literally hand this off to someone and be like, I just have to oversee. Okay, just let me check this email or let me check this project management tool. No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, sorry,
Mm.
I hate to bust all your bubbles. Operations, any part of management has to be a little bit more involved in it, which means you have
Mm.
to give some attention and some of your time. So that used to irritate them because they'd be like, well, can't you make the decision for me? I can. And I probably know which one you're going to make. However, when this all goes awry, again, I'm not taking that whooping. So, nope, you are going to commit to whatever you said you're going to commit to. I'm just here to partner with you. But
Hmm.
what I noticed with a lot of, especially startups and solo entrepreneurs, they're wearing all the hats.
Yes.
So if I'm wearing all the hats, marketing and sales, at least I'm going to get some return because I'm putting money out. And so I had to
Hmm.
explain to people ROI is more than just the return of money. I
Hmm.
know that they all talk to you and they be like, oh, I could sell this for you. And then you're going to get this return. Yeah. But what they fail to tell you is sometimes that's going to take 3 months. Sometimes that's going to take 6 months. So you're going to be shoveling out that money for a while. However,
Hmm.
operations return may not be in money, but it may be in time for you now to go do something else that could make you money and save you in the long run because you
Yeah.
actually understand why you're now creating this launch or selling it, putting money towards this ad versus somebody saying, hey, if you give me this and I'll do that. Again, no two businesses are alike.
Yeah.
And now we're in a world where a lot of our entrepreneurs have chronic illness. You may not
Hmm.
see it, but it's there. You have a lot of them are neurodivergent. So the traditional ways of doing 1, 2, 3 does not quite work for them. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't work a typical 8 to 5. Some of them, the business may be open from 8 to 5, but they may be an early riser or a late starter. So
Hmm.
when you're looking at operations, the whole point is you're trying to determine what can I have a machine do versus what do I need a physical person to do. That's where automation comes into place. When do I automate this, and is it really worth automating? Because if it's free, it's always worth automating. But if you got to pay, is it cheaper to? Because you still gonna have to pay somebody to watch that automation that you paid for. Because when it goes, because life
When it goes
happens, and
down.
when it goes
Yeah.
awry,
Yeah.
somebody has to fix it. So, are you going to pay for somebody to always be on standby to fix a possible problem, or are you going to take the time to now learn it? And what was happening
Hmm.
is they didn't have either. They had no
Hmm.
money and they had no time, and they didn't know where to start. So, when I was networking and you would hear the struggle because they would be like, oh, I have this amazing funnel and it's all mapped out. And I'm like, okay, great. But do you know how to use the program? No.
Hmm. Man. Wait, Cora, I mean, you said so much in this. I have to break it up a little bit. We're going to have to just chop it up. Let's start with,
Shop
I'm
it.
just going to take us back a bit because you're one, outstanding as you pointed out. Things always break. I don't care if you have AI, automation, whomation, I don't care what you got. It's going to break at some point,
Yeah.
right? And so you're going to need
Mm-hmm.
something to do it. I'm going to put that to the side. We're going to get there because I want to talk to you about AI. So just put a pin. You remember, we're going to get there. Before we get there,
Noted.
though, you mentioned that a lot of entrepreneurs, I mean, myself included, like I have chronic illnesses. I had a concussion, a traumatic like a mild one, but it definitely changed the way I saw work, right? And even going into the space of entrepreneurship, I have a different perspective. I don't want to be working 16 hours. I want to work smarter. I want my freedom. And in fact, at this point in my life, I literally need to rest more than I used to. And so you mentioned that you've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners, and they're either neurodivergent, they have chronic illnesses, they might have different family situations or obligations, right? On top of just, and they might want to make money still, good money. But how do you think that influences when they come to you for operations support? Is that like the same as anybody else, the same as a normal, like a larger business, or does it make it almost easier because they realize they need to work smarter, not harder?
For me, in a lot of different ways, I've learned that it is easier. And part of the reason why it's easier is because when I look at operation, they realize I'm not just looking at their business, I'm looking at your well being. So I'm looking at,
Man,
okay,
yep.
when we're talking, my goal first is not like, so what's the goal for your business? Okay, we can get to that because that we can't meet that goal until I know where your headspace is. Because,
Yeah.
for example, let's take an entrepreneur who is just starting out. I don't care how great you are, you're just starting out. And we all know that experts they're not built overnight. So the first thing they have to get through is first the imposter syndrome of, okay, I don't even care if they did this field in corporate. They're now getting over, can I do this? And can I make money? And I can't really pay, the $3,000 this person is asking, but I don't know where to start. And not only do I not know where to start, but I need somebody to kind of nudge me because I know in 5 minutes I'm going to be on to the next hat that I have to wear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we talk about that where I'm asking, like, are you married? Are you single? Do you have family? What are your obligations? Do you have health? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Because don't
Wow.
have a meeting with me if you're not a morning person. That means you're not ready to talk. You're not going to answer any of my questions. The first thing you're going to be looking for is what cup of joe can I get to be halfway function?
Facts.
So
These
it's
are
like, okay,
facts.
that don't even make no sense. So we kind of go through that, but they don't realize while I'm asking those questions, they just think, oh, we're just getting to know each other. No, I'm being nosy. I need to know how you work. Do you want to work a 5-day weekend? Do you want to work a 4?
Mm,
What's your
yeah.
max? How many hours could you really go straight? Because they'll
Ooh,
always be like, oh, I could do it 10 hours. And I'm like, you're lying.
no.
You're lying because you're tired now and it's only 8 o'clock. You can't do no 10. I mean, you probably could, but the work's not going to be great. And so
Facts.
and eventually they realize, like, oh, you asked me those questions to see how I work. Yes, because
Yeah.
I want you to be prime for
Man.
your clients. So
Hmm.
if you are technically sharp as a tack between the hours of 10 and 12, that's when we taking those client meetings. No, I'm not scheduling no
Perfect.
meeting before. And no, that's
Yeah.
when
That's your
those
window.
are going to be, that's your
Yeah.
window. And so they look at me and they're like, oh, that makes sense. They hate when I ask this question. I'm like, what holidays do you take? What days do you take off?
Hmm.
And they look at me like, what do you mean? I'll work when I'm dead. I said, well, that means you're going to be dead pretty early because, everybody needs to rest. There's a reason why there's a day of rest. Like, everybody rest. When are you going to rest? And they're like, I got the
Hmm.
weekends. I was like, you forget I see your emails.
Like
No, you're
I
not
have the
resting on the
receipt.
week.
I have the
I
receipts.
have
You're not
access.
available. Yes.
You say you're not available, but Monday morning you're telling me like, hey, so I talked to so and so. I went to this event, so you're not resting. So the family be like, yes, thank you. So it's like, what time do you really, what are your, so I establish what the boundaries are, because
Mm.
if I can build those boundaries with me, it makes it easier for them to also build it with the clients. And then we go to, okay, now what is your business goals? What
Yeah.
can you realistically see happening within 30, 60, and 90 days? I used to tell people, y'all are so worried about hiring, but how can you hire somebody if you can't even explain to a friend what your process is? So who you gonna hire? Because you still gotta train. You do know that just because you go, ooh, I love you, I hire you, you still have to train
Oh.
them.
Oh.
So I said, this is our prep. And so they be laughing at me like, oh, okay.
That's real. That's, I mean, and you kind of folded into like, we got into automation naturally. I love that because you're right. You can't replicate the system because there's no system to replicate. What are we doing? We're taking chaos and just making more chaos.
Mm-hmm. And
How do
then
you
leave it
feel
in
though?
my lap and be like, fix it. No.
True. That's because you're competent at that. Okay. But look, so how do you deal with now? I have to ask. This is about product technology operations, PTO, next generation of operations. How you feel about AI? Because you're in a space of so much possibility. What do you do about it?
Here's the thing. This is what people crack me up. They were like, oh my gosh, AI's gonna take my job. No, it's not, because half of the people aren't gonna learn it. Okay? They're not going to learn it. And if they are learning it, half of them are learning it the wrong way. So it's good. It's a tool. Instead of you, okay, so I'm aging
Yeah,
myself. So
do it.
don't be trying to figure out how old I am. I'm old. Let's just put that out there. So back in the day when we had to do our book report and our school reports, we had to go to the library and get them big old botanical books where you had to like
Yeah.
read the whole junk and then cite it.
Yes.
AI is just taking those books and it's really research and development. You still
Hmm.
have to then take that information and make it personal to you. Now, I know some of y'all are cute and you just do that copy and paste. Boo. Your friends won't tell you, let me help you out. We know when you just copied and pasted, okay? We know when you copied and pasted. We know when a human did not add a little love to it. Now, we won't tell you because we don't want to hurt your feelings, but we know. Because I got some resumes and I was like, okay, so that wasn't Jack GPT. Like, you didn't even change anything. Jack
Said,
GPT format does not change as many times as you ask the question. Okay. And I purposely know that because I purposely have gotten copy and asked it to
mm,
read just because I wanted to see. So you still have to put a human element to it. You still have,
yes.
and we can tell if ChatGPT did it, and it's super friendly and exciting, and you get on the phone call and you're the
Your
complete
energy is
polar.
different.
Right.
Yes.
We know when you
We
nervous
know.
versus like,
That
okay, so
wasn't me at
you
all.
copied and paste that. So like it's just another tool. It's not meant for to replace people, because again, you still have to have a human oversee it.
Yeah.
For example, if you change your link to your terms and services, AI is not going to go in there and be like, oh, I know exactly where that new link is. No, a human has to go and be like, okay, AI, we changed the link, update it. So it's not going
True.
to take away job. It's just going to make it harder for those who don't want to learn it. Like back
Mm.
in the day, we had radio. We moved to radio to television. We still use radios every day in our car. Radio didn't go nowhere. It's just a new technology. That is just it.
So I mean, let's dive. Well, not whole dive because we can't afford to dive with the time we got. I mean, we already over the time, but I'm with it. I know. I literally when ChatGPT first came out, I said the best degree to cross-reference check ChatGPT would actually be librarian sciences, because it's really, like you said, you mentioned, it's just R&D. Now, I'm not saying in the future it can't connect it to the automation to do the functions, but right now a lot of it is really, here's your R&D, but you still have to make that into a viable solution. It still has to be implemented. It still has to be systematized so it can get to the next phase. How did you even put that together? Like looking at it, like we're not there yet. Like it's not. And what would it take to be there, in your opinion, for your space?
Okay, so in my space, is it getting better? It is. So here's the thing: it AI is no different than, for example, two of my favorite tools, and no, I'm not affiliated with them, but they're my favorite because it works for me, is Scribe and Tango. And what it
Hmm.
does is when I am writing out a process for somebody, it allows for it to take the screenshots for me.
Hmm.
Well, the
Okay.
great thing about that is if I just want written form, I can take that and put it into ChatGPT and it'll make it into written form or simplify it. Because there's sometimes where tech is not everybody's lane of genius.
No.
So it's not like my clients are the younger generation. Sometimes I have clients of an older descent, and
Mhm.
I know what I'm saying, but I need them to understand what I'm saying, and I don't speak their language sometimes because they want it dot by dot technical, and I'm looking like, can we Google this? So I'll take it and I'll be like, Jack GBT, here's the client, and I'll give them the specs. They're about this age. They're very new in technology. Take this complicated and make it simplified.
Hmm.
It's just like there are some companies that are integrating their own AI into it, so where it can do some of the stuff. But I mean, if we're talking about we want to work smarter and not harder, you would want AI to help you do that.
Yeah.
You like,
Absolutely.
do you really want to input a whole bunch of data when you can have a machine go ahead and speed that process up for you? Like,
These are facts. These are, and speaking of machines, processes, if you had to snap your fingers and something in your business, now you're in operations, but some operation in your operation business had to change immediately and would like just make your life so much easier, what would that be?
okay, so I'm a fun fact. I understand marketing. I know why it exists, but I hate doing it. If AI could do my marketing for me, I would be 100% happy because I
Yes.
am I am the tech I'm the tech toolkit box behind. I live my life behind the screen. That's all I do. That's where I like to be. However, we all know in social media, yes, you have to come out, you have to introduce. That is not my comfortability. And so
Hmm.
for me, in a lot of different ways, there's a lot of different AI that has made it more accessible for me to do it, because it doesn't necessarily have to be my face. It can be my likeness. So when I learned, and yes, I've dabbled in a few, and you'll probably find out about a few AI secrets I've been keeping under wrap. But like, I want my own logo, but I want a logo that is mine and nobody can steal it and they didn't have to make it and I can make it myself. I want my own type graphics where like, oh, that's hers, but it's AI and there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with stock photos. That's what they're for. It's a tool. However, sometimes you want something that's yours that you don't have to put the watermark on it because like that's mine. Um, so I feel like you have introverts who can still be creative in their own right and don't have to be everywhere, and you have extroverts that are like going in front of a crowd is their thing. That's where their energy comes from, and they shine. So I have to find the happy medium. So if I had an AI that could do all my social media, I would be one happy individual.
I'm gonna just
Mhm.
plus one to that. If I can hop on that train, whatever your AI marketer becomes.
I actually found. We'll talk offline. I got a
Okay. I
secret.
mean, look, let's circle back. So, last question, and thank you for just taking the time. I know we've gone a little bit over. What do you have to say to aspiring entrepreneurs or business owners or people who, like you said, might not be able to do the traditional route? What would you have to say? Like, what's your final words to them?
My final words is what you see on social media is not always real. More
Mm,
people nowadays is buying instead of it being true. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. The struggle will be real. Not is, will. There will be high seasons and there will be low seasons. There will be moments of doubt and there will be moments of confidence.
mm,
The greatest thing someone has told me is choose your community wisely. Not everybody is going to rally for you. And I hate to say it because everybody be like, girl, you got to be empowerment. Okay. Yes, but you also got to be realistic. Not everybody's going to rally for you. So
mm,
in the midst of you formulating that idea, you can't tell everybody. I
mm,
learned that the hard way.
mm.
You can't tell everybody. You're gonna have to have a core. I call it the core five. Or if anybody has read Napoleon Hill, it's a now the book is thick, but it's think I can't quite think of it, but it's like think rich. And so what he used to do
Mm,
was
mhm,
he used to have an imaginary boardroom essentially where he had core people who before he made a decision he went into that boardroom and he talked it out. You're going to have to be really real and have some of those moments because you're going to have FOMO. Everybody's going to have something that is like, oh, but that'll be perfect. And but the reality is it may be perfect, but is that the right time and right season? I bought a
mm,
lot of things out of season that if I would
mm.
have waited, it would have actually helped me in the season I was in. There was things that I bought that was way too advanced. So it's like, yeah, you bought it, but you didn't even it's just sitting in your toolbox.
Yeah.
And then find the ones that are going to rally around you when times get rough. Because you're gonna
Mhm.
have self-doubt. Entrepreneurship, you're literally making millions of decisions every day. Do I pick this color? Do I not pick this color? Do I take this client? No is a complete sentence. You I had to learn that was the hardest part because I would always say yes to everything. And my family would look at me like, why? And I was like, because I couldn't tell them no. But they were like, but that doesn't even make practical sense. But I couldn't tell them no.
Mm.
They were like, no is a complete sentence. They were like, just look at him like he's your son and just say no and then hurry up and click off the call. And I was like, okay. So you're going to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. If you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, take some time before you go down this road because it's a wonderful personal and professional journey
Ooh.
of lovely discoveries. But
Development.
have fun. Like I
Yeah.
think that's what people forget. Like you didn't go into business to work so hard where you don't even celebrate. Like it's okay to celebrate the small wins. I don't care if you got on a discovery call and they didn't buy. The fact that you got someone to sign up, show up, and you have to talk about your business, that's an opportunity. It's a
It's a
moment
win.
of growth. Like, don't
Yeah.
forget those, have the small wins, but please, no is a complete sentence.
Man, I love it. Oh my gosh. That was fantastic. Okay, that concludes our insightful conversation with you, Cora, JLCE's founder and CEO. You gave us an inside look on turning your personal experience into this wonderful business venture, right? These are keys to your success as an operator, as a client facing service based provider, and then understanding what automation means. Like you said, what core 5 means, saying no, it's a complete sentence. There's so many things. And Cora, you've inspired us to take these insights and actually apply them to our businesses. So I appreciate you taking the time. This is PTO Insights, and we will see you all next time. Bye.